It's so funny because when you and I first connected on styling for portfolio, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because we started chatting around like, okay, putting the package together, et cetera. What does that look like? And then I followed up, I think, and you were like, my plants aren't ready. They haven't grown enough. Remember that?
Yeah, it's a bit of a killer when you build a project.
Yes.
You put so much into it and then you just want to get some photos. Like for us, obviously it's a job too, but we love what we do. And I guess the photos, although we use it for marketing and everything like that, jobs do take like a bit of a part of you. And you do get connected to them. So getting the photos is, I guess, something we kind of keep for us as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you put so much into a job and you want to get photos and then you got to wait like 6 months to 12 months just so the garden starts to look established and it's grown in.
Yeah.
Just so the photos do look a bit optimal.
Totally. And finished.
Yeah,
right?
right.
Otherwise it looks a bit half-baked.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you're promoting a half-baked job, which is not something you really want to do.
No.
Welcome to Behind the Design, a podcast where we unfold the details behind the designs we know and love and explore how each project comes to life. I am Camilla Ingle, owner of Unfolded, an interior design and styling studio. In this podcast series, we dive into the details with our industry experts, covering topics such as the creative process, latest design trends, and how we, as an industry, work together to meet the brief and overcome challenges. Let the conversation begin. Mitch, good morning.
Thanks,
so good to have you on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. Stoked to be here.
Yeah, so good to have you. And so tell me, landscape design, I came across you, or you came across me when we were doing a bit of styling. And
Yep.
that was sort of our initial chat around elevating your designs. So tell me a little bit about that and what you do.
We run a landscape design and construction company based in the Lower North Shore. My brother, he's my business partner, Josh. So he's a carpenter by trade. So we kind of really work together. Really, landscapers think they're carpenters, so better off just having an actual carpenter work for us. And it works out well because we both kind of share a love for craftsmanship and the finer details behind a project. And who would you trust more than your brother? Yeah. So it works out pretty well.
That's so good. And so, it's interesting. I just had a chat with Mia Lake from Mia Lake Interiors, and we were talking about working with family, and crossing over that business side of things. Is there anything that you've experienced? Like, how does that go for you and your brother?
I definitely think at the start is definitely kind of levels to it, and you really got to work your way through it. Yeah. I think definitely you just got to give each other space to do what you're good at. So like, just because you can do it doesn't necessarily mean jump at it and do it. Like we kind of learned, like when an issue would arise on a project, we both are problem solvers and want to do our way to
jump in and get it fixed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So but then we kind of learned my roles would be a lot more of the running of the business side, and he's really good on the tools, much better than I am. Yeah. So it's easier for me, even though if I can have a solution to the problem, let him kind of go away and sort it out, because otherwise then the problem will still get fixed, but you just put both ways of solving it. So that was probably like a clear one. And then in terms of like a business side, I find sometimes one of us might be at a certain point with the business where you have an idea and the other one isn't really there yet. And then it kind of swings where the other person has that same idea, but maybe 6 months later, and the other person's kind of off it. And then you kind of do get to a point where you just kind of balance out, and then you do really agree. And I think the biggest thing is just trying to share the same direction and communicate that all the time.
So who would be client facing then? That would be more yourself.
Yeah, that'd be me. Yeah, doing design and I guess sales.
More front house, and then your brother's doing the trade.
Yep.
So it sounds like a really good balance.
Yeah, it works out really well. And I know if the client connects with me and gets on with me, they'll easily connect and get on with Josh, because almost the same person, just slightly different genetics.
Okay. The look is a bit different, but
he's a bit hairier, yeah.
Love that.
We can take stabs. He's not here, so right.
It's a shame he wasn't able to join us.
Yeah,
he's overseas at the moment.
Yeah, he's living up in Europe, but someone's got to keep the machine running.
I feel like September every year, there's a Euro trip. For so many people. It's that time of year, isn't it?
Yeah, try to stick off Instagram. It helps a little bit.
Literally. Oh, that's so cool. I actually really enjoy hearing inspiring stories of how families work together. And I actually haven't heard many horror stories to date. And I really think it's great when you can do that. And it sounds like you've got such a great balance of, I'm going to stay in my lane, Josh is going to stay in his lane, and we'll get the job done.
Yeah, I think probably one of the most important things is to like being respectful when we're not at work. So say like when we do have like family events and stuff like that, you know, work can get pretty obsessed about work. And if on a Sunday one of us is like wants to talk about work or talk about a project and the other one just isn't feeling it, if he says, I don't want to talk about work right now, like being respectful and just stopping straight away. Totally. And two, we both kind of go in those stages. Yeah, I think that's probably a big thing to keep in mind. And two, like not keeping scores. Like I don't count times when I'm up at midnight doing a quote or doing a design, and he doesn't count times if he has to work back late on a side or something like that. Just not keeping scores. That's probably a really big one too, and not creating any issues as well.
That sounds really respectful, and especially on a Sunday, like or cap it at 30-minute chat.
Yeah, Sunday or Wednesday,
and then back to the beers. Yeah. And so with landscape design, you and I brushed over this the other day at the coffee, and I guess I just want to be really clear on, for the listeners, the difference between landscape design and landscape architecture. Mm-hmm. So fill me in a little bit on...
it's a bit of a hard one. Even when I was studying, I wasn't sure do I study landscape design or landscape architecture. From my understanding, I think landscape architecture is much more like a broader term. So like streetscapes and
quite large
spaces, a lot more larger scale.
Yeah.
And design is really specifying more the homes and domestics. But then too, there's a lot of
residential.
Yeah, residential. Yeah, that's
okay.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of fantastic landscape architects that do residential work.
Interesting. And so so you and Josh have built a landscape design business.
Yep.
How does that go from exterior to interior? Do you do any sort of indoor plants design, or are you if a client said to you, hey, can you help me build an indoor tranquil area in the home? Does that sort of change your research, or are you just sort of like, no, indoor, outdoor, kind of all flows?
No, we haven't had the opportunity yet, but if the opportunity ever did arise, I'd definitely jump at it.
Yeah, because of different plants, right? Different soil, right. Different sunlight.
A lot of different sunlight. That's probably the hardest thing. But then just trying to find, like, one of my favorite things is combining different plants, like colors and textures and shapes. And indoor plants is probably like one of the funnest things to do that with, like getting a cluster of 3 plants, then using like varied heights, and then finding plants that have slightly different contrasting foliages to then accentuate it, and you can have a bit of fun.
Sounds like quite a process though.
Yeah, it's
not just throwing plants together. Like there's obviously a lot of detail.
I think sometimes maybe people can overthink it and worry they're going to kill a plant, or I think really if you just kind of look at the tag and if it's in the shade, just don't put it in full sun. And if it says full sun, just...
Do you mean the tag like when you're in Bunnings and it says direct sunlight?
Yeah, that's those ones.
Indoor plant only?
Yeah.
Keep it indoors. It sounds so simple, and I love how like fast you say this, because you're like, of course, this is how it, this is read the tag and just do this. But I'm a bit of an overthinker.
Yeah.
So I remember you saying to me the other day, like, surely you could just do that on a balcony or that over. I'm thinking, no. Plants overwhelm me.
I reckon you got to give it a go, Camilla. It's even like, I find one of the easiest things is just picking up a plant at the nursery and then placing it next to another one and seeing how do they look together. And then
so it's like me with cushions.
Yeah.
Or me with a timber veneer and a tile.
Yeah, and then you just kind of play around and you can have fun with it and just think, like, that doesn't really look like it. It looks like it kind of clashes, all the 2 leaves look too similar. And then go put it next to another plant. Like, I'm always doing that at the nursery now still.
Heights and tiers and...
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, maybe pick like a more dominant plant that has a bit of height, that's larger, and then kind of work in tiers going down. Wow. And look for a plant with maybe like a soft foliage next to one that's kind of sharp. What I'm always, when styling plants, indoor or outdoors, when you combine them, just trying to find one plant's foliage that'll be placed next to another and then accentuate like the visual features of that plant.
Gosh. It's cool.
Yeah, it's fun, yeah.
Yeah. And so how much reign do you have in terms of creative reign? Does a client come to you typically and say, like I know my clients will say to me, hey, do you help with the landscaping? They'll just throw that in there at me when I'm busy doing tiles. And I'm thinking, I'd love to, but I just don't have the confidence. And so that's why you and I were saying, let's collaborate moving forward, which I think is an advantage, right? You get that team together and you refer.
Definitely.
But for you, if a client just went direct to exotic living, do you sit there with them and map it all out? Have they already got architectural plans, or how do you do it all on CAD?
I draw all my drawings on CAD. A lot of the times we kind of just end up, the clients just reach out to us directly. We find like with a lot of our projects, people have done their renovations 2 years earlier, and then once, you know, their budgets have recovered, and then their kind of decision fatigue is been overcome as well, then they end up reaching out and getting their landscaping done. Yeah, so normally it's just deal direct with the client. But even like you're having to go at landscape design, Camilla, like what about like spatial layouts and stuff like that? Like doesn't that interest you trying to do
I'd be
something like
confident
that?
with the spatial layout.
Yeah.
I love a good floor plan.
Yeah.
I spend too long on my floor plans because I find it so interesting on any spatial planning. Thoroughfares in spaces, like that's my strong point, or that sort of documentation. But when it comes to plants, for me, I feel like it would be having that confidence in directing the client in saying this will last. If you put this next to your driveway in direct sunlight for the next 15 years, how much water does it need? Like, I don't want to be in charge of that. I want to say, Mitch, we'll look after you. But I would absolutely, like if you said to me, hey, let's do this bit together, I'd be so keen to work with you on like how that might channel down the driveway.
Yeah.
In terms of proportion and scale. But then I would want to be like, Mitch knows the rest. I don't know.
That's what I love about landscape design too. It's just like the layouts and how you transition from like one space to another.
Yeah.
And how can you make that space feel? Like, do you want it to feel like enclosed and intimate, or do you want to like sit there feeling like you're open in the space?
Yes.
I don't know. I find with design, I don't know how you feel, but I think with design, a lot of it is kind of like human behavior and psychology as well.
So much. There's so much behind it. Did you, and so off the back of that, did you study at uni?
Not uni, just TAFE.
TAFE,
landscape design. So first, initially was a landscaper and did that for 10 years.
So you were already like work experience. You'd done the practical side.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay.
So that definitely helps now as well, just in terms of picking like material choices, like say choosing something like a Merbau deck. Like I know that the tannins will stain, and you know, be smart where you do that. Like don't do a Merbau deck over a pool and then it'll leach into the pool, or
Can you
white
unpack
tiles.
just the tannins for the people listening?
I guess what the timber's made up of.
Yeah.
And then as it rains, Merbau being such like a rich timber, as it rains, it can leach and the colour can slowly come out and like end up fading, and then staining the what's below it.
So that could be the pavement around the pool.
Yep,
The
that's
pool
right.
pavers.
Yep.
Ah, that's so interesting. See, there's a lot more to it.
Yeah, definitely. Even like with plants, like since you work with plants tangibly and out on the site, and you go back and see the sites, you understand plants grow at different speeds. So sometimes you don't really want to put a really fast growing plant next to something that's slow growing. As the garden gets established, that plant will just overtake and dominate the space. And then the slow growing plant looks like it's done nothing. So it helps to have a bit of balance in the garden in terms of the plant growth speed.
And so plant growth speed, on that note, is that something you've learned with your practical experience, or is that something that the Bunnings tag would have?
Probably a bit more practical, yeah.
Because I was just thinking I wouldn't even think of that, the plant growth speed.
I definitely didn't think about that at the start too, but you do some projects and you learn as you go. So
It's so funny because when you and I first connected on styling for portfolio, it was interesting, wasn't it? Because we started chatting around like, okay, you know, putting the package together, et cetera, what does that look like? And then I followed up, I think, and you were like, my plants aren't ready. They haven't grown enough. Remember that?
yeah, it's a bit of a killer when you build a project.
Yes.
You put so much into it and then you just want to get some photos. You know, like for us, obviously it's a job too, but we love what we do. And I guess the photos, although we use it for marketing and everything like that, jobs do take like a bit of a part of you, and you do get connected to them. So getting the photos is, I guess, something we kind of keep for us as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you put so much into a job and you want to get photos, and then you got to wait like 6 months to 12 months just so the garden starts to look established and it's grown in.
Yeah.
Just so the photos do look a bit optimal.
Totally. And finished.
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
Otherwise it looks a bit half-baked.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you're promoting a half-baked job, which is not something you really want to do.
No.
So would you not, this might sound silly,
Yep.
but would you not just buy the plants half grown or 3/4 grown so that you only have 3 months? Back to the growth speed plant growth speed.
You can definitely do things that kind of help the process.
Yeah.
Like I find conditioning the soil before you install the plants, and when like big fan of like putting mushroom compost in.
What is that?
It's
I mean, obviously made of mushrooms.
Yeah.
But like, is that soil
it's just like a compost, a specific type of compost.
with mushrooms?
Yeah. After they harvest the mushrooms, and it's kind of what's left over.
So expensive.
No, it's actually really cheap. So you're actually much better off going to the effort of conditioning the soil before you install plants, and then you can put plants that are a little bit smaller size and the speed of them definitely does accentuate. Is much quicker.
And I guess mushrooms don't have a strong smell either. I'm thinking about
it's not as bad as like cow manure, but if it rains, your mushroom compost doesn't smell too good either.
Yeah, right. Damp mushroom.
Yeah, it's a little bit rank. But even in terms of like the plant size, like you can put plants in that are kind of established and bigger, but once they kind of end up growing, just like the form and their shape changes as well. Like maybe sometimes you can't really install an established hedge, or you kind of want plants to kind of some plants to blend into each other and just their overall mass and size to look as one. Yeah, the whole kind of aesthetic can change slightly.
You sound so passionate about what you do. It's so inspiring though.
Thank you.
Because it's, it is something that I think a lot of people either don't invest in because they don't know enough about what you deliver. I know a lot of my architects have really close relationships with their landscape designers because that's all done in that phase of architectural design, because it is, like you say, bringing the outdoor in. So they're making sure that the architectural plans also include a really beautiful garden. But then I kind of come in after that, and then I get asked a few questions about the plan. So at what phase do you find that you're getting engaged? Is it, like you mentioned earlier, a bit later, but would it be better to be engaged back?
Oh, yeah.
That's ideal,
definitely.
right?
Yeah, especially too, like landscaping is extremely costly. I think people sometimes don't really...
Big investment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Don't understand that maybe at the start. But yeah,
it's worthwhile though.
Oh yeah, I definitely think like landscaping can add personality. Like say to the front facade, I'm like a big fan of architecture and homes, but sometimes like I see like a stunning house in the garden, it's just like grass, or there's nothing there.
See, or it's a bit clinical. It's just like grass.
Yeah.
There's nothing like structural. There's no deliberate design in there.
Yeah, and then like a garden can just completely change that property and give it a bit of like you can give like a standard like cookie cutter home like its own personality, and too like when you have like a larger home, introducing like scale through the garden, maybe some larger trees to help soften it as well.
That's privacy.
Yeah, that's right.
It can implement some privacy, can't it?
And then with like the backyard, like I think it definitely should be treated the same as like a renovation. It's to say like put simply, you can add like another story or room to your house, but then if you have like a backyard that's never used and then you add a deck, it's like a form of renovation in the space too, because it's just about, I always think it's about like usable space on the property. So if you add like a 30 square meter deck and now all of a sudden you can use the backyard when it was never used before, I think that increases value in the property too.
One, it's optimizing space, and two, it's creating something from a blank canvas to make more useful, like a purposeful design. With that then, how far do you go in terms of building all of the structural, so you build everything?
Yep, yeah.
Like the timber bench seats around the pool with the built-in planters, like because you've got the carpentry.
Yeah, that's right.
With Josh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so landscapers, like generally landscaping can do like block work, concreting, stonework, and then some landscapers do decks and pergolas as well. And then with Josh, he's really skilled at decks and pergolas, and we love craftsmanship too, so we're trying to find ways that we can introduce that into a project through like burnished concrete or built-in furniture with like bench seats.
That's becoming really common because it's not a big footprint either, and you can just add a side table.
Definitely.
And then it's a usable sort of like framework.
Yeah, and it kind of invite someone into the space. Like if you see a bench seat kind of sitting there, naturally you kind of want to be drawn to it.
And so the other thing I was thinking that I wanted to unpack with you is, for example, we're working on a Pilates studio at the moment, and we're building in a sauna, ice bath, kind of bathhouse design.
Oh, fantastic.
Super beautiful. I won't give too much away, but we've got some inbuilt planters. And I was like, who do I call? Because I get quite, what's the word? Who would know what, and obviously you would, I imagine, who would know what type of plant is going to work in a sauna heated environment?
Yeah, the humidity and things like that, yeah.
The moisture. Do we do, I guess it's those questions around what type of plant, but like, or do you just go like a really good looking fake plant?
Fake plants, don't take that, Camilla. I'm cringing up as you say it.
You let a shiver up your spine.
I can't do them.
Totally.
I just feel like too, when you put like a living plant in a space, it can just change how a space feels.
And I was doing a bit of research on this, and it's like it breathes oxygen into the space. It can help people think clearly. Like there is so much, well, I should say so many benefits to having live plants.
Oh, definitely.
But then we had to have that conversation with the Pilates studio, like not only the client, but she's got to then check in with her team to say, all right, are we going to do the UV light to keep it going? Do we do inbuilt plumbing to make sure it's watered at all times? Like, hello, have we got this massive investment on our shoulders?
Yeah, the maintenance of indoor plants can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Even me too, like my apartment's full of plants and I get a little bit slack maintaining them sometimes as well.
And so in that environment then, would you be confident to come in and completely deck that out?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely, work.
And you work with the plumber, and is that how far you would go with something like that, or would you just specify the plan?
Probably just more specify the plan, and if anything, just kind of pick plants that are easy to care.
Yes.
That's one of the things too, like whenever we're designing and building a garden, clients always say like low maintenance. Everyone always wants low maintenance.
Yeah, well, they want it to look beautiful, but they don't want to be watering every day.
Yeah.
Or like some sprinklers or something, right?
I think too, like say, well, if you like want a good looking garden, like anything, because it doesn't require like maintenance and effort like going to the gym.
The upkeep.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's time to go to the gym. But you can do things to kind of work around it. So say if you, instead of like low maintenance, I kind of take that as slow growing. So like if your garden is slow growing, you actually don't need to maintain it all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
Like those type of things are definitely kind of ways to work around it, or using like succulent plants that don't regularly need to be pruned. Yeah, they're kind of some cheeky tricks to use.
Gosh, this is such an educational piece, isn't it? It's great. And so tell me about your experience on the block. We're just going to dabble in that. How did that go?
It's fantastic. I think, maybe everyone has their own opinion on the block and, what it might do for the industry and expectations. But I think it's great because it just educates clients on like the process of things. Even the speed. I don't think realistically clients think a garden gets built in a week. Like it does on the block, but I don't think
that's where I'm like, it's unrealistic, that show.
Yeah, you got to have like an army. Yeah. So like when you have an army and everyone's got the right attitude, it definitely gets done. And
all the materials are available and in stock.
Yeah.
There is no unavailability. Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff all definitely helps. But I think it's just a fantastic environment, even to work in. Like everyone there loves what they do and everyone is really good. All the other trades are really good at what they do. Yeah. And it's from like a business aspect, it's like an unreal place to learn from other trades because everyone's passionate. People wouldn't be there if they didn't enjoy their job and they didn't like what they do. So it's just a great way to kind of pick up on different tips from different trades, and you just have a really good time. Like for us being based in Sydney and going down, it is like a massive effort to go down. But at the same time, like we love what we do, and to be around other people that love what they do, it's just like
that industry passionate energy. Yeah. A little bit of a sidetrack here, but like how were the couples? Did you get to really engage much with?
Yeah, all the couples we worked with have been fantastic. I think
because there's so much controversy. The amount of people like, Camilla, you should go on the block and like, I don't know, get some guy to come with you or some woman to come with you. And I'm thinking, I don't know, like that makes me nervous. Because it's so confronting and it's so fast paced and I like to take my time.
Yeah, it is pretty intense. I think too, with landscaping, it's like one of the last things. So by the time we get there, the contestants, they're pretty gassed. So like...
What do you mean by gassed?
Extremely, extremely tired.
Yeah. Because you see them like waking up at 4 a.m. and they've only gone to bed at, midnight.
Yeah, and it's like that too. Like we've had times where we've worked there till like 10 o'clock later at night and the contestants are there still working. They're pretty tired by the time we get there, but then you're there for a week, so you definitely get to connect with them and they definitely appreciate it. They're always extremely appreciative of like the work you're doing and how hard you're working and everything like that. So
well, that's good. It's a good feeling to feel appreciated, isn't it?
Oh yeah, even with clients on our own projects, like I guess when you build a garden for say sometimes 6 to 10 weeks, even longer, and you're there every day, just connecting with a client, like it always kind of it shocks us a little bit. When clients do get a little bit teary when we leave and stuff like that, just because they have really connected with us and we've connected with them.
Yeah, like establish that relationship. Because how long will you be dealing with the project, like managing the client and the project in terms of chatting with them, and how long is that relationship, that service time frame?
Say probably before we start the project. That can go on for probably like 1 to 2 months. By the time you design a project, get their thoughts, and then quote the project, and then make any other adjustments that you need to then fit within their budget. And then, once you build the project, we have projects that go for a week, and then we have projects that go for like 6 months. So, everything's pretty different. And, once you've spent that much time with someone and, I guess you do make it a little bit,
Get a bit close.
Imprint of them, I think too, maybe being like a family business, and some of our best friends work for us as well. So we all really naturally get on really well.
Probably a lot of trust too, right? That you're all going to do the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one of the biggest things, I think, like, say when you're picking a landscape designer or anyone like a builder or anyone, when you first meet them, like, can you connect with them? And do you feel like they understand you? That definitely makes the process, and in interior design, I think that definitely makes the process a lot easier, because you are dealing with large sums of money and it can be stressful. So, you want to make sure that you got full trust in that person as like a human, like outside of just their company. I think definitely helps.
Yeah, and I like how you put it. I think sometimes it is just coming down to going, is this person a good person? Will they do right by me?
Definitely.
And by my clients? Because particularly for someone like us and at Unfolded with our team, we're wanting to refer talented people like yourselves, and we want to know that you're going to look after the client the same way we look after that client, and it doesn't always go that way.
I find it hard too, always, like, finding the right person to refer, like, because then that too is like a reflection on you. That's always, you got to be really careful on the people that you do refer, and too, you want that person to be as passionate about what you do, and to kind of really invest in the project as well.
And so how often are you dealing with interior designers like us? Or is it,
I think, like,
typically
interior design,
clients?
and landscape design really should work together. Like, say you don't want to, as like an interior designer, you don't want to stand in the kitchen and have, like, say, for example, dark cabinetry, and then look out into your back garden, and then there's like a feature screen that's all blonde timber,
Yes.
and a lot of like cool colors and whites, and just the two spaces,
like pastels or something crazy.
And the two spaces just completely jarring. They don't really flow from one to the other, like
Interior to exterior.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And that's so important. That's something that the architects and I would say every time I work with either an existing architect through a client on the architectural plans that have been sort of built and developed, or if I've got an architect or building designer who's referred me, we will sit there and say, what are the exterior finishes? Not that I will pretend to know the details of those. The architect will source those. But it could be the palette direction.
Yeah,
Even the wall lights. You can get beautiful outdoor wall sconces that spotlight the travertine, and things like that. So it's so important to make sure that outdoor reflects the indoor. And similar to what you're saying, like, then the landscape also complements all of that. Like, it's so nice when all of it can work together.
Yeah, you kind of want the spaces to flow. Like, you don't want to walk from inside to out and like that. I don't know, I think
disjointed.
Yeah. Come back to that kind of human behavior. I think when you stand in a space, sometimes if we're designing something and it just like doesn't, I don't know.
Something's off.
I think if you just like stand there and you just kind of focus on how you're feeling, or, kind of just take a moment, you can pick up something is wrong. Yes. And then you can find the thing. So say, you might look really, something might look really busy, and just kind of taking a moment to understand all the different color palettes and how they're kind of working together.
Yeah, and it is. It's really taking your time with it, isn't it? And I think that can sort of come into that whole overwhelm that can happen sometimes when you've been pushed to do a project fast paced. I don't know if you've had many of those. But it's that short time frame where, people want to move in, or they're just doing the final touches. Can you just help me with these?
Or Christmas.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, we're already, mid-September.
Yeah.
I'm getting emails from furniture suppliers saying Christmas cut-offs, let me know by 1st of October. I'm like, for all my jobs. I've got 2 weeks.
Booked a holiday yet.
Yeah, I know. I don't even know what I'm doing for Christmas. It's wild. But yeah, that's like just a perfect example. I feel like I love those clients that call me. Like, we've got a client in Glenhaven who's, we're probably going ahead, signing off this week. And I should say likely going ahead, signing off this week. And they have just reminded me it's a 30-month contract. 30 months.
Yeah, right.
So it's 2.5 years. So it's managing great. So we have so much time now to get a landscaper in. We've got time. And that then gives us so much room to do something really beautiful, really deliberate. Look at a couple of options for both landscaping, stone fittings, everything. And it's just so nice. But when we find that like clients will say, oh, I've got 6 months to move into this apartment, let's just fully gut it. It's sort of a bit, oh, okay, I can get it done, but I'd love to have just that little bit of extra time to just sit, as you say, and look at the plans, feel them, stand in the space, see what the natural lighting is at 10 a.m., see what the natural lighting is at 4 p.m. Like there's so much to it.
Yeah, that's right. I find too, say like, come back to designing and constructing the project. Since we construct it, say when you're on a project for a couple of months, you can kind of really get to see where the sun travels throughout the space. So then going back to picking plants, that can really help understanding different parts of the garden that do get a lot more shade or do get a lot more sun. And the focal points within the space.
And so do you outsource any of the selections or do you go and do it yourself? And do you go to somewhere like Bunnings?
For plants?
Yeah.
No, just the wholesale, the plant wholesale.
Of course.
Yeah, they're a bit of fun. You can always spend the day just walking around and they're massive jungles. They go for meters and meters.
Do you get overwhelmed or are you quite like, no, I know what I want?
No, yeah, it is a little bit stressful. I love doing it, but at the same time, it is like, does get a bit stressful on the days when you go and pick the plants. I think it's more just like,
you're in abundance of greenery.
Yeah, overload.
Overload. That's a good word for it.
I think too, they're trying to maximize it. Like you really want to maximize the budget with the plants. So like you don't want to go too hard and pick like a massive feature tree and then you've blown your budget. Like you want to be smart about it and the garden to look dense and lush as well at the start. It's always that kind of balance. But then too, like being really passionate, sometimes the passion definitely overtakes the profit sometimes, and you put
too much time.
Yeah,
you're so energetic.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic is the word.
Definitely, like sometimes like we don't mind losing a bit of profit just to put a few more plants in or make just to really kind of finish it off and not look like that half baked. I'd hate to finish a project and be like, I wish I did this or that. Like we've never do that. I think the more for us is like if you're going to do that, and that's all right. I think that's great. Like when you're starting your business as well, not always about definitely not about making money. It's about building great projects. And then if that's the direction you want for your company, and then using those projects to then get the next one and just kind of keep leveraging off it. And
there's so much in the way of not just a beautiful project, but creating those relationships because those clients will then refer. And not just refer, but if they're, for me, it's house proud. For you, it's garden proud, and if they're garden and house proud, then we're going to get that next job. Yeah, definitely. And they're obviously, you want them to love the space so much that when someone else walks in, like one of their friends or they're entertaining or whatever it might be, they I love the kitchen bench. I love how you use the space. It's like, oh, well, we had an interior designer come in. Like it's those conversations that you want to for them to keep having. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if the space is like, you walk into it, like if they walk into the house and they're like, wow, instantly. Yeah. It's an easy conversation. Like it easily starts that conversation. Yeah. And so have you or Josh, I don't know if you can speak on behalf of Josh, but... No, we'll throw him under the bus. That's right. Yeah. Okay. It depends what the question is. Have either of you experienced burnout? It sounds like you're quite fast-paced, go. No, not yet. Not yet. I haven't experienced it yet. I'd be pretty surprised if we do experience it. I think, I don't know, I'm sure you experience the same. Like when you are passionate, it's extremely easy to stay up till 1 o'clock and design a job. Yep. You just kind of get lost in it. And the creative juices are flowing and sometimes when you're on. Yeah. Isn't it? It's like, I need to make the most of this energy. Definitely. Yeah. And too, with the business, having a business is all consuming and sometimes that's what you enjoy talking about at the same time too. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know if being passionate definitely would help you not burn out. But at the same time. So it doesn't feel as hard? Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel as much of a slog. But then doing things I'm pretty big on going for a swim in the morning before work and just taking half an hour for yourself just to think. Mental health check in. Yeah. But sharing the business with Josh and our best friends working for us too, that definitely takes a big stress load off. Like when something is tough or hard, or you're going through a trough, that they're not as bad as what they probably could be because it's being shared amongst a couple of people. And too, they want to make it easy for you too, so everyone kind of pitches in. Since we are also naturally so close, when someone's going through a tough time outside of work, it's like a good environment to be able to share, opposed to, I don't know, maybe more old school tradies, they're probably a bit rougher and just tell you to shut up and, not get on with it. Yeah, that's right. But you'll be right. Exactly. See you tomorrow. No, I need a day off. No, you don't.
Exactly. And that's like, I think to me, that's like toxic, and that's not the type of like environment we want to have for work. So
It's old school work ethic.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like our
to me, that
grandpa's
sounds
era.
standard, Yeah.
Yeah, my grandpa was an Italian concreter. So, I mean,
The hardest
need I
part.
say more? Italian and concreter. Yeah, and he was very, very hard worker. And it's inspiring, but, you know, these people, it takes their toll as well. It takes its toll, I should say.
What about yourself, Camilla? Is there anything that you do outside? Like, how do you break apart work and your life?
Look, I'm very, probably the last, so we'll be 5 years in November at Unfolded.
You're around the same time as us.
Yes, and interesting, another podcast guest as well is around 5 years. So it's interesting.
Survived.
I know we survived COVID too. Like it's all that same time period. 5 years is good. They say if you get past, I don't know if you heard this, but apparently if you get past the 4 year, it's like the 7 year relationship itch, but at work, the 4 year itch, it's where you start to question everything. That's when I went through a pretty big burnout. I would say, October last year. Again, it's one of those things that no one would really know about. Only my nearest and dearest had any clue. And I wasn't like sort of in bed experiencing complete like shutdown, but I just felt disassociated. And it's because I'd not checked in with myself. I'd put so much work on my shoulders and I didn't have any, like I had some staff, but minimal. And it was just this more mentality. Anyway, I had to really look at it and I started like doing a lot more meditating and things like that to check in. And it was just a really interesting journey because it's made me realize now that if I don't, in answer to your question in terms of daily sort of, regulating yourself and keeping yourself in check and not getting to burnout, I found that was a learning curve that kind of incentivized, okay, cool, you need to make sure that you keep up with A, B, and C so that you can keep running the business. Because if you don't have those little mental check-ins, so for me, I do yin yoga at night, literally YouTube. I type it into YouTube, 15, 20-minute hips only yin yoga. And not kidding, it is so good because all I need to do is pull my mat out on the floor in my lounge room, 20-minute yin yoga, and then I just roll into bed because I've let the day go through stretching. But in the morning, I'm a bit more energized. So that's when I'll do like my Pilates or I'll do a run or something like that. And if I get either one of those in every day with maybe a meditation on productivity, I've been doing those lately.
What do you use, like the apps?
Yeah, literally. Insight Timer. I've spoken about it on the podcast before. So I feel like everyone will be like, yeah, we know. But pretty much you just type in what you're feeling. So lately, if I'm feeling a bit sluggish, I'll type in productivity and it will just give you this little, it's like 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be, an hour of meditation of like quiet time to self. But it's just a nice way to go, I'm here for you to yourself. And that's what I feel, that sometimes I get so caught up in meeting everyone's needs in the business because I've now got 3 staff, plus obviously making sure I'm meeting my family, my friends, having me time, doing the podcast and running the business. So when you look at it all, like holistically, bigger picture, you've got to have that me time.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise you cannot meet the needs of, not that you're meeting needs of everybody, but it's sort of at least maintaining those relationships and then the clients as well.
I'm always in the juggling. Is it like balance or is it priorities? I'm just always trying to figure out which one it is, but yeah, it's like seasons of life at times too. Like, there's periods where, work is a priority, December, and then maybe January it can drop off a little bit.
Yes. I love that our industry is it's just like radio silence in January. Like you text a builder or you call somebody and it just goes to voicemail.
That works for me. It's the best time to go to the beach,
So good. So we need it because most of us are on for 12 months.
I find too, like kind of what you're saying is it's hard to say no, especially when you're starting a business. You're just trying to get working. You're just trying to like get traction and momentum, and you'll say like yes to everything.
Yes.
But then too, like say as a brand, you'll say yes to things that really don't align with you. You start doing projects that are kind of taking you away from why you started.
Yes.
I think say come back to having me and Josh. It's a good way to sometimes having the two of us. Someone will start kind of diverting a little bit, and then the other one just kind of kicks back and be like, no, it's not what we're about, or they're not stuff we're interested in doing. We don't need to say yes to it.
Yeah. That
kind of definitely helped. Having two of us would definitely, takes a big burden off.
And are you there yet where you're in a position, because some people when they're in year 1, year 2, yes, not loving half of it. Are you at that point now? Like we've found that in our business, we're working on jobs that we are 100% sure that one, we can deliver on because it's aligned with our business model, it's aligned with our branding, the clients are amazing, we all get along. That's not that common until you get to a certain point. And now all of our projects are pretty much like that. Are you finding that you're there yet, or are you still sort of like, oh, we'll take on a few little ones that we're not that sure about, but...
No, yeah, most of them are pretty good. Like we've never had a bad experience with a client. We're pretty lucky. Like every client, we're like, wow, they're unreal. But it's like, you're all unreal.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we're extremely lucky. And I think it kind of comes back to, say, when I first meet a client, like connecting with them and seeing if I can connect with them and really being aware of that. That definitely helps. But then, yeah, I think, we're pretty lucky. I'd probably say no to more jobs than we say yes to.
Because of demand and time.
Yeah, demand and, time. And I think, too, you can always, what I've really started to learn, too, is, you can run your business. It's like, it'll never be easy. Like, you can, as you grow and, I'm sure you'd be big on, like, personal growth, too, and progressing.
Especially personal growth and professional development. Like it's kind of hand in hand now,
exactly.
Isn't it?
And then because I always think the business is just an extension of me or an extension of Josh. And, the business you can make it easy, or it can be easy for a while.
Easy is a really interesting word.
Comfortable, maybe. Yeah. Comfortable is probably the right word.
Easy. Have I experienced easy?
You get comfortable and then you put on another employee, or you start taking bigger projects, or you work on more difficult sites.
And then you're like...
And that's never ending. Like,
that's scaling too, right?
Yeah.
All that comes with scaling.
Exactly. And there's just so many levels to it. And just, I think what I kind of learned is when you get to a level, just sit there for a little bit and then go to the next one.
And enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like there's so much around... I'll go to like a work event or a networking event or industry event, whatever. And people be like, oh, you're obviously really passionate about what you do. Do you enjoy it? And it's so interesting because you're like, of course I do. But there's so much more to it. Like I enjoy most of it, but there's so much that goes on in my day that some things I don't enjoy, but I know I need to get them done to enjoy it later.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is like just enjoying certain phases. Like I'm actually, the amount of people that ask me, you might get the same question, well, how big do you want to get? How big do you want to grow? And I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good now. Do I need to be bigger? Because I thought I was okay. It's not that I question myself. It's more that I go, that's a really interesting question. Where am I at? How many staff do I want? Because I'm so invested in the business. I don't ever want to be wiping my hands clean and everybody just taking over. I always want to be sort of there, but I mean,
involved,
involved and present, I guess would be a good word, and across the projects. But obviously in time, when I have a family and things like that, how does that look? So that's why I've started to scale the business, because eventually I'll have to step back. But again, that's accepting that work-life balance that we're kind of circling back to, because that's where you have to check in and go, okay, is the amount of stuff I've got right now and the projects coming in enough, rather than more, bigger, because sometimes then you've got to manage more people.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Like I experience that a lot, like with my role, say designing. I love designing gardeners, but at the same time, also love building them. So I understand if we put on more employees, I'll be designing a lot more, designing more gardens or more like admin behind the business, and then that really takes away
less on the tools.
Yeah. Whereas that's still what I love doing. So it's about trying to have a number of employees that kind of works with that balance. I think can be a little bit tricky sometimes, just finding the perfect number.
Yeah, that's it. And what is the perfect number?
Yeah. When I kind of experience the same as you, where it's like, do you want to, have heaps? I used to like want a massive business, and then I got friends that have like 40 employees.
40? Okay.
Yeah, they're probably big boys. Yeah.
Big boys.
Yeah, big boys. But I don't know if that's the, and then it's about, is that what we want? Do we just want to manage people and manage a business? Like at the moment, and too, working with your brother and your best mates, love being on site. So it's
comfortable, like you said.
Yeah. And just because we're like that now doesn't mean we'll be like that forever. Like we kind of like the idea of kind of being, kind of more
open to, And I guess it's organic growth, isn't it? Like you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. And that's the biggest thing that I've learned to, like over the years, a lot of people have said to me, oh, you seem a lot just calmer in yourself in general. And I'm like, I think I learned with all my meditating to surrender on so many occasions that now I just live in this like let go, surrender energy, which is good and bad. But I think what it's helped me to do is it eliminates that excessive worry that you can have when you're quiet. Because that doesn't help. Like, what's the point? What's the point of worrying about being quiet? Because tomorrow, someone like yourself could be like, hey, Camilla, you know, I've put forward Unfolded to these clients in Avalon, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden I'm booked out for 6 months.
Yeah, that's right. I find, when you're quiet, sometimes it's just about getting to the next week and just the next week and the next week. And then, like you're saying, all of a sudden your world can change. You're booked out for 6 months and now you're stressing because you're too busy.
Yeah, that's
you're stressing because
then I'm doing my podcast. And then exactly. So it's like, why stress when you're quiet? Why stress when you're busy? Just kind of in flow would be a good way to say. Instead of, I said letting go, I'd say in flow. I think it just helps because it's sort of going, no, I'm in abundance of work. Right now it's just a bit quiet. Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? Like,
yeah, that's right.
Good way to be, right?
Yeah. And I think too, like when you're quiet, just being proactive and doing as much as you can. Like,
really get on the marketing.
Yeah.
Or,
start posting a bit more on
Instagram
Facebook.
ads.
Yeah, Instagram or Facebook and going to see as many people as you know and just dropping in and see suppliers and
Or check in with old clients. Have you ever done that? I sometimes just check in with old clients. How's things going? Yeah, still loving the curtains, you know. It's a nice chat.
Yeah, I do love going back to see gardens with Phil.
Oh, true, because yours would grow too.
Yeah.
The curtains don't grow. They always look the same, but I'm like, yay, I'm glad you're still happy.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah, nothing's changed. But that's good. Although, you know, the floorboards will have a bit of wear and tear. We might get them sanded back or something. Final question to wrap up today's episode with you.
Hit me.
If you were given an unlimited budget to create a dream project, what would it be and why?
We just actually built one of our dream projects. We were pretty lucky.
Okay.
The client's brief, she wanted the grounds of Alexandria in her backyard.
No way.
Yeah, so that's one you kind of, when you're writing down your goals at the start of the year and gardens you'd love to build, it was definitely would have been, I swear I've written it down somewhere too, but I just can't find it. Wow. So she gave us, that was like her brief. She just loved that kind of concept and theme and wanted to try transfer that in her backyard. So, you know, went to the grounds a couple of times and took a couple of notes. And
are we talking about where they've got little pop-up donut shops and...
Yeah, that's it.
You're kidding.
Yeah, there was no donut shops.
Yeah, just the plants.
I just like the overall theme. So when you walk in there...
With the arch?
Yeah, with the arch, yeah. Yeah, just down the road.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it's just about using like recycled materials, so like recycled bricks, like copper. Then we use like recycled railway lines and sleepers, just kind of that real rustic theme. And then just taking like the main concepts of the grounds of Alexandria and incorporating that in a backyard. So when you go to the cafe and you walk in, you'll notice like the narrow corridors and plants kind of encroaching from either side. So when you enter a garden, that's kind of the same theme we've kept as you enter the space. And then there's like a water fountain as like the main feature piece. So then we didn't use a water fountain. Instead, we did like the same type of brickwork, and the centerpiece is a large mature olive tree. And then they've got like a tea house, and then we built a glass house.
A tea house.
Yeah. So.
Beautiful. How big was this block?
It was a rural property, but it wasn't like expansive. Square meters.
So it was like a condensed version.
Yeah, it was more of a condensed version. Yeah, that's right. But just kind of, that was really fun, taking something on like a large scale and then trying to molded it to something a little bit smaller and
like cookie cutter, but like more minimal kind of thing, but the same concept.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow, how cool.
Yeah, so we're pretty lucky to build our dream project. Now I've got to give a think of what the next one will be.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, good on you. And so, Mitch, where can people find you? Exotic Living.
Yep. Just Google. Check out our Google reviews too if you want to take a bit of an understanding onto other clients.
Yeah, their experiences.
I think that helps massively. I'm pretty big on going to a restaurant and looking up the Google reviews.
Some people are review people. I'm not overly a review person, but, well, my partner is, a lot of my friends are, and it's really interesting when some people are just really into it. I've read all the reviews, we're not going there. I'm like, oh, it was all booked, but now we're not going. It's like, because it matters. I probably need to get more into it.
I think too, maybe take some with a grain of salt if like it's,
Yeah, a negative one.
Yeah. But Google or Instagram and check, like landscape is really great too, since it is so visual. You can see if you like, if that designer, like in terms of picking any designer, does that designer's work resonate with you? Do you like their styles? And two, I'd probably pick a designer opposed to just kind of just picking a landscaper, I think definitely helps.
Yes, so get on the right track. Your Instagram's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful portfolio, isn't it, as well? Like you get that visual of what you do. Yeah,
I think too, that's why landscaping is, that's why we really love it too. It is so tangible, and you do that, get that really high job satisfaction, as I'm sure you would. Like you see something in your head and then you've built it, and
it's like brief to completion energy.
And you just feel great after it because you can see what you did, like tangibly.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you so much for coming on.
That's right, thanks for having me. Stoked.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Behind the Design. We've created this podcast to bring people together, inspire new ideas, and foster a deeper understanding of what goes on behind the design. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with someone who might find it valuable. Until next time, keep creating and stay inspired.